Ten Hag has well and truly cooked up Gareth Southgate after that performance from England last night. Quotes from what came out after the show we did last night. We're talking about Ten Hag and his situation with Ineos and the contract talks and everything that came from that. But his comments regarding Gareth Southgate's approach, I think Ten Hag is he's basically on the attack. He's backing himself and he's going on anyone that possibly might actually be in line for his job. We're going to do a little bit more from what was said after the game last night and what was said from Ten Hag. Also on transfer updates and everything like that as well. I want to get your opinions on everything. We're going into the list of players now that are affected by Ten Hag staying as well in terms of Marcus Rashford and what Erik Ten Hag was saying last night. I want to take more into that side of things as well. Ten Hag well backing himself and in a lot of people's eyes over the top, going in on things and talking out of line. He's also in some way actually making his job even harder because of the players that are still at the football club. Now everybody wants to see the issues of Manchester United and where we failed over the last few years, which according to most fans would be the players. So which of these players does Ten Hag agree with the fan base are not good enough and which ones is he going to keep? We'll get into all of that as well. Please give the video a like and make sure you're hitting that subscribe button if you're tuning in for the first time. Hard facts are not easy to take. I want to start by saying last night we had a show. I went off on one completely. Last night I was reacting to media reports and quotes from Ten Hag, which I thought was a little bit out of not so much just out of character but out of line from Ten Hag, and I thought it was being way too over the top. But we have a great community here on FUTV and a few people have commented on what I was saying last night. Some of it was taken out of context. And I just want to thank people for actually bringing up the whole conversation, breaking it down from the Dutch side as well and the understanding of it. I do apologise if I upset anyone last night. I was reacting to quotes that weren't exactly true. Some were sort of built up media-wise to make it seem like a bigger story. I was straight off the back of the England game, so I was still a little bit miffed and annoyed. And then I just seen these reports of Ten Hag saying certain things. Look, my opinion on Ten Hag is not going to change. I'm not impressed, and he's got a lot of convincing to do for me. But some of the stuff that he supposedly said last night was built up into a different story altogether just to make some headlines, and I reported on a couple of them things and went in on them. So if I offended anyone, I do apologise. You know, that's what it's all about here. I will listen to other people's comments as well, so people who have commented and gone through the whole thing properly without abusing, thank you. I love it. That's what football debate is all about, other opinions, and some people know a little bit more, so we're all here to learn. We're all here to figure out what is going on at Manchester United while learning what Ten Hag is trying to say and the understanding of it. The way we break down what happened last night with Ten Hag was, and the thing that I thought was strange and very uncharacteristic from Ten Hag was when he went in on Gareth Southgate, because everything that he was saying about Gareth Southgate is pretty much what he does in his team, and that's what a lot of people have picked up on. That it's the manager's risk now having scored a goal and then sitting back. It's the gamble that the manager pays. That's pretty much what United have done all season. I just don't understand where he's coming from with that comment at all. Like, look, go in on Gareth Southgate and cook him all you want, Eric. I'm right behind you on that one because I don't rate Gareth Southgate one bit. I really don't. I'm fully behind Ten Hag on that, and I don't want Gareth Southgate ahead of Ten Hag. I've made that clear from the get-go. I just found it weird that Ten Hag sort of went on in that as well. It's like he's been listening to the fans in a way, weirdly. Because it was strange. And everyone gets comfortable on international duty. The interviews are easier. There's less pressure. I think more players and managers both feel more relaxed. And they end up talking a little bit more openly. And I just thought he probably said too much last night, more than what he needed to do. He didn't need to go into certain areas. I know he was prompted by the Dutch media and they wanted to get the angle in and what was going on, and that's fair enough. They're doing their jobs. Ten Hag is answering honestly, and he is coming out firing at the moment and backing himself. And I was just in a conversation with Kaz this morning on this, and Ten Hag over the last few months of the season, specifically since John Murtough left the football club, has been a little bit different. His demeanour and the way he's answered and dealt with media and answered certain questions and come across has been completely different to the Ten Hag at the start of the season. And it does look like he's just completely opening up now. Is this the real Ten Hag? Is this the man that we thought we were getting? The arrogant, bullish, stubborn, full of himself manager. I'm not having a problem with any of them things. If you get results, by the way, I ain't got an issue with any of them traits. Like, you have to back yourself as a Man United manager, otherwise you'll get walked all over. So I understand all of that. But is this the real Ten Hag? That's the question we've got to ask now. Is it Ten Hag now coming out firing at everybody who questions him? Does he feel like he's in a position of strength now? I seen one comment this morning, Ten Hag coming out acting like he's just won the Champions League. He's lucky to be in a job. That's pretty much my stance on it. I hold my own opinion, and I'm not going to change. Ten Hag has got a hell of a lot of impressing to do for me. And I just don't think throwing Gareth Southgate under the bus after one game. I know he's only answering questions, and he's just saying what he's seen on the pitch. I just feel like it was a little bit rich, let's say, coming from him, to actually throw Gareth Southgate under the bus in the way he's played in that one game, when he has bigged up many performances like that for Manchester United in the past. And I look at it and go, really? Is that just playing to the crowd and playing to the occasion, the Dutch media and everything like that? And I kind of go towards like Ten Hag in the headlights. He's in a moment. He's in a moment right now, and everything, all eyes are on him. And there's shots being fired from all sorts of angles, and I think he's just been wrapped up in the whole situation. I feel right now, and I just want gone. Like, I want this all out of the way, and I just want to see what he can do on the pitch now. There are some reports, and the Telegraph have actually reported this morning as well, after what Ten Hag had said, that there's a risk that Ten Hag won't sign this contract now. Completely disagree. He's going to sign a contract. He's just basically using every ace card that he's got right now to get a better deal for himself. As from his side, that's fair enough. You would do, wouldn't you? You'd want to back yourself and get the best deal. You're not going to go in and bend over for him, are you? And just take everything. But, hey, what you've got to look at is... I sounded like Ten Hag then, hey? And what you got to look at when Ten Hag is talking now, I feel, is he thinks that he has been unfairly treated by the British media. He needs to understand that he is now part of the Premier League, Manchester United. He should know what's coming, and sometimes I feel like he uses the media to his advantage, but then slaughters them at the same time. He basically used the media last night to get his point across. So he is just as bad, in effect, in this whole scenario with the media and everything like that. And I think he's just got wrapped up in it. Personally, I just think he's got wrapped up in a situation now. It's gone out of control. Questions are flying around everywhere. It'd be interesting to see how many more games he covers for Dutch media while the Euros is on. I would love to see more, actually, because if we're getting the honest Ten Hag, that's what we've wanted to see all along. He's actually come out in, and thank you to the guy who actually sent me the whole transcript of the conversation earlier on as to what was asked, and he did actually allude to this season wasn't good enough for Manchester United. Ineos are doing what most owners were doing, reviewing the season. It took too long. Obviously, in Holland, there is a rule that you're not allowed to negotiate with someone else to take someone else's job unless that person has been sacked. I didn't know that yesterday. I learnt that, and I hold my hands up for not knowing about that. But that wasn't my point I was getting to. My whole point was we're not in Kansas anymore. This is the English Premier League right now. And you already know, you've been here 2 years. You've already slaughtered the media this season, so you know what it's all about. And I think he just feels like he's got enough in the bag right now to back himself, I feel, Ten Hag. That FA Cup trophy has definitely given him more impetus to actually back himself strongly when it comes to speaking out. And to speak out against Ineos. I'm not saying it's against Ineos. I think it's a warning to Ineos in a way as well. Like, he's not going to be dictated to. He's not going to be told what to do. I'm happy with that. Like, the structure of Ineos can't change, and they're not going to buckle to Ten Hag. And it's the same for Ten Hag when it comes to his team. Like, there's the line, like we've said all along. It's drawn there. Ten Hag deals with his team and how he gets these players ready for his for game each week. But I just feel like with Ten Hag and Ineos at loggerheads at the moment, if it is loggerheads, I mean, this, again, it could be all been built up into nothing, but what we're getting from it is that Ten Hag wants this deal sorted, so this is going to stretch now. So the reports from Romano are false, basically. It's not around the corner. There's nowhere near ready for completion, this contract. So let them iron it out over the Euros. Let them have these conversations. This is just what's happening. It's just normal football. They need to obviously make sure that they are on the full understanding. And do you know what? I think while it's rumbling on and while the rumours are still going on, we are going to get a situation where certain stories come out that Ten Hag may be looking to quit Manchester United. I just feel like that's how the media are probably going to spin it. With nothing signed, obviously, the rumours are going to be rife. And you'd expect that. Mark says in the super chat there, 90% of the English press stories are lies or elaborated. It was the way that it was built up through social media as well, Mark, last night. And what I was reacting to in reports and quotes from publications that apparently weren't exactly true. I did say sorry for that, by the way, if anyone is just tuning in. But I think it's only going to get worse from here. That's my worry. That's what I wanted to get across last night, but I don't think I was getting it across well with the emotion of everything from the game and then what Ten Hag was saying, is that this is just going to get worse. And there's a part of me that was thinking last night in what Ten Hag said, I was like, you know what, maybe he's just pre-warning everybody ahead of what is to come, like I've just said. Maybe he's just saying, look, there's going to be more and more stories because he's not going to agree with what Ineos want. And then people are probably going to get more information from Ineos and the amount of people that are involved in that structure than what they're going to get from Ten Hag's side of things. This is the first time we've heard the real Ten Hag, like I said. I think what he's doing is making it public and making people know that it's not all on him. There's Ineos as well. And he isn't going to be made out to be the one that's really kicking off here. I think that's his side of it. Now, we can take that for what we want and agree with him or not agree with him and say that he is he's just lashing out and taking his opportunity to have a go at everyone. But I think we are going to see more of this. We're going to hear more of this, definitely. And it's not all going to be the truth going forward. I think, like the Telegraph this morning, straight away, Ten Hag may not sign this contract. He is going to sign this contract. He is. Like, he's not going to put up this amount of fight and then not sign it. I mean, he's just making sure that everybody knows that it's not just him that's kicking off and has got the problem. Ineos has as well. And he's not fully on board with what Ineos' plans are for him. And that's, like we said, like all of the rumblings. I remember saying this months ago when Ineos took charge. When we found out on Christmas Eve they were in charge, the pressure was on for Ten Hag to make something of the season. He didn't, but he won the FA Cup. But we always said he is going to have to fall in line with Ineos. Ineos will not fall in line with Ten Hag. These are not meant to be messed around with. And you know what? In all of this, Ten Hag, he's built himself a really strong profile of manager. He's been very, very clever in what he's done when you look at it from the outside. He's got himself on TV talking about what he's accomplished, what Ineos are doing, how it's taken so long. They disturbed my holiday. I think we were hearing from Ten Hag's side of things was that he wanted an answer very, very quickly. He wanted to know. And for Ineos to go out to his holiday where he is and tell him, I don't think that's so much of a deal. But I think he sort of built up the story a little bit to back himself, which you would do, wouldn't you? There's two sides to every single story. So this is Ten Hag's side. He's seen it as them interrupting his holiday to tell him. But I'd like to have been told face to face that I was keeping the job. Face to face communications are better than anything. They're better than a phone call or a bleeding Zoom call anyway. But yeah, I just feel like it's been built up, and I think this is the start. As painful as it is, I think this is the start of another saga for Manchester United. I think this contract situation is going to rumble on and on and on and on, and we're not going to hear the last of it. We just opened up the floodgates last night, and it's just going to be one publication, especially after the Euro. If nothing is signed, by the time the Euros finishes and we're into the proper start part of pre-season, then you are going to find lots of other stories coming out about Ten Hag. And you know what? I go back to where this all started from was when Murto left Manchester United. Ten Hag started to become this different person all of a sudden. Was Murto and Manchester United holding Ten Hag back in showing his real self? Are we now got to get used to this type of Ten Hag? I just hope that he actually shows that on what we're talking about in a second now, the player side of things. Because we've been talking about Luke Shaw, he's been talking about Marcus Rashford as well. We're going to get into that, but I'm just going to get into some of your comments on this one. Adam, is this really important? Can we not just talk about how crappy the weather is today? Honestly, I was talking yesterday about that bleeding weather as well. Looking like we're going to get a 24-degree day. That's changed in a night, and it's now gone down to 19. So we've lost 5 degrees in England in a day. Only in England. England have a better team than Man United and play classic football, but they don't have a good manager. Southgate is trash. We are not winning the Euros. I'm just in it for the ride, and hopefully we can get as far as we possibly can. I'd be ecstatic if England won the Euros, but I just, from what we've seen, don't see it in Southgate and what he's setting up with this team at all. Take a risk. Drop Phil Foden. It doesn't fit into this side at all. You need to play the best team, not the best players. He's taken advantage of Southgate in the spotlight for a bit of revenge after months of being told by the PR Sir Jim Ratcliffe wanted Southgate for his job. Probably not wise, but understandable. He'll learn, Gary, from his mistakes and saying certain things. I still think there's something behind him doing it. I think there is. I think he's backing himself to make sure that even if it goes wrong at United, he'll have another club waiting for him, Ten Hag, easily. What about us as fans? We are not good enough. We were not good enough last season. You mean the fans weren't good enough, or United? Well, yeah, the team was not good enough, and the fans have been forgotten about in all of this. All it is at the moment is Ineos and Ten Hag. That's all anyone is talking about or anyone cares about. He needs to realise he's going to get it worse being United manager. Been like this for decades. Yes, it has. Erik Ten Hag criticised Southgate and he does the exact same thing at Man United. Useless. I think Erik Ten Hag is delusional and has some terrible ego. He needs to just make sure the football is better next season. That has to happen for Ten Hag. Otherwise, if the knives are out, they're being sharpened already, aren't they? We know this. Ten Hag loves playing the victim card because he knows there are many gullible fans who fall for it. Hook, line and sinker. That was from Vasson. After one game, he's been the England manager for years. Adam chat's absolute garbage. After one game, I don't know. I'm talking one game in a tournament. I don't know what you're on about, mate. Honestly, like, Ten Hag's only spoke about England after one game. That's what I'm saying. Oh, some people just don't understand. I'll let you come back and maybe apologise about it. But, maybe just take a little step back and just listen to what I was saying and what I was meaning behind it. Ten Hag commentating on England's first game of the tournament is what I meant. It can get better, obviously. It never is good for England's first game anyway. Everyone knows that. The media will hammer Erik Ten Hag next season after games about the owners talking to other managers. Can't wait for that every week. Ten Hag's going to have some thick skin next season. He's going to have some thick skin. He's got people in for him in that media, definitely. And they're not going to hold back. They're not going to take delusional responses to bad defeats and excuses. They're going to come in on him hard again. Afternoon to you as well, Neil. Condolences on retaining Ten Hag. That must be a opposition fan. It can't be a United fan, surely. Big clash of personalities, I think, says Welsh. Yeah, Ten Hag, we've seen the real Ten Hag. That's what I'm making at the point of this opening point of this show. Is like, we're now seeing the real Ten Hag come out. So I haven't got a problem with it. I wish he was just like this from the start. I wish, because he was talking totally different when he first came to United. Like, we had to win every game. And then when things went wrong this season, he said that last season was overachieving. It's like the fans don't forget what was said and what he came out with. So he needs to just remember that sometimes, I say. I must be in the minority with Erik Ten Hag. I'm happy they backed him and put an end to the player power at the club. Perfect way, Anthony, to move on to this next section, because this is the question I want to ask you guys right now. So the player power is obviously the issue. Like, everyone's decided that this is the problem at Manchester United. And now it's down to Ten Hag as the manager to rid Manchester United of player power and get rid of the players that are not good enough or the bad eggs. But the issue in that is, are we getting rid of the players that are good enough to take United to the top, that we haven't got time for to change their attitudes? Like, honestly, I don't know which way it's going to go. Marcus Rashford, prime point. Ten Hag said last night that Marcus Rashford, he's not surprised that Marcus Rashford is not in the England squad alongside Jack Grealish. Perfectly understandable, and everyone understands why Marcus Rashford is not in the squad. So Ten Hag has publicly said that Rashford wasn't good enough last season. I think he said it in interviews for Manchester United as well this season, but also kept on backing him. We will keep playing him. We will keep playing him. We will keep playing him until he gets it right. In them games that you kept on playing him, Manchester United were failing week in, week out, and that's when people come out and start questioning the manager. That's when they start questioning what Ten Hag's methods with Manchester United and where his actual goal is. Like, what does he think? What is he seeing? Like, because he's seen a good season with Marcus Rashford, he believes that will come to good. That will come out of him this season. Marcus Rashford has lost his way, and a big part of Marcus Rashford losing his way, I think, and I still stand by it, is Jadon Sancho. And Jadon Sancho and Ten Hag, as we know, are at loggerheads, and this will not end well. It'll end up with Sancho leaving Manchester United. We know this now for certain, but Marcus Rashford has been affected, and players do talk. We know this. He's great mates with Jadon Sancho, one of his best mates. So I think it did affect him, and Rashford's form fell off a cliff after that happened, and you can't deny it because it happened in the Arsenal game. Rashford had a great game. He scored a cracking goal in that game again, as he always does against Arsenal away, and after that it all went to shit, because the bombshell about Jadon Sancho came out and everything moved forward. Ten Hag has to try and rid this football club of the players that are a problem, because he's in a situation, a unique situation now, where he has been kept on. It looks like he is going to be the longest serving manager post Sir Alex Ferguson, and everybody now, the manager has been kept, automatically thinks it's okay and the players will leave the football club. Well, the answer to that is no. And Ten Hag will probably keep every single player that everybody knows contributed to a very average season last season. Now, you can pick out moments for Scott McTominay here and there. Inconsistent is the one that I use. He had an alright scoring season last season, and I said all along, I'm happy keeping Scott if he's happy staying in the team. One performance in a cup final for a lot of these players does not make a season. So everybody bigging up Ten Hag in the FA Cup final for getting it right, he got it right in playing these same players that Manchester United fans have been slagging off as the major problem at the football club. So who is the problem at the football club? Ten Hag is going to go back to pre-season and he's going to have the same players there. He was talking about Luke Shaw as well. Everyone said Luke Shaw is one of these players that's been here too long. Like, Martial didn't contribute nothing last season. So we can't even say that he was part of the way that Manchester United were playing. Do you know what I mean? It's like Jadon Sancho did nothing last season. Whether he was available and that changed anything, you could argue that point. I understand that. And if Sancho had a better attitude, he may have been able to help Ten Hag out last season. Same with Anthony Martial. But Ten Hag's treatment of both of them players, outing both of them, which he has done, then has to be added. That same method has to be put in place with the other players. Because they're nice and they train hard doesn't mean that they're good enough for Manchester United. Because they came in privately and apologised to you doesn't mean that what they did is okay and we can just forget about it. It doesn't. So Ten Hag has to figure out which one of these methods he's going to take going forward. Does he try and make something of these players that have been apparently failing season after season, or does he get rid of these players? Does he come out like he has with Ineos and Jadon Sancho and say, look, he has to be gone? Has he given Ineos his list of players that need to leave the football club? The only ones that are going to leave Manchester United this summer are the likes of, for me, obviously the clear and obvious ones, which is Sancho and Greenwood now. I think Victor Lindelof will definitely go. It's not his player. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think, will also go. We've talked about them in detail. The likes of Pellistri, Hannibal, who don't get a chance in the Manchester United side. I'm worried for Ahmad. Honestly, I think he will finally own up to making a mistake in bringing Antony to Old Trafford. We cannot afford that type of signing again. Like, in the situation we're in, we cannot let that happen. That's the ultimate goal. Like, in terms of the recruitment side of things, this has to be the biggest change out of everything. And if Ten Hag wants to have power over transfers, then we have got a major problem. You should be telling Ineos what players do not fit Manchester United and what players have been the problem. You know all of them. The best bit about Ten Hag staying is the hope that he will out some of the players. Marcus Rashford will not leave though, because Ten Hag has backed him now. So he has to, and he is solely in charge of getting something out of Marcus Rashford now. He's seen the good, he's seen the bad. Now let's see the consistency. That's what we need from Marcus Rashford, and that's up to Ten Hag to get it out of him now, because everybody knows what Marcus Rashford's like. Everyone knows he's been one season on, one season off, one season on, one season off through his whole Manchester United career, and some would say them seasons on weren't even that good. So Ten Hag knows this, everybody knows this. It's up to him now to get something out of Marcus Rashford, because he's in a position, and a strong position, where he could say, Marcus Rashford doesn't work for me, we need to get him out of the football club. But he's up against Ineos, who he's now arguing with over power of vetoes, transfers, everything else, I'm guessing. And this is where it's all going to come to a head. And in the end, us, the fans, are going to be the ones left with the same players that failed us last season, apart from the odd game here and there, which gave us a tiny little bit of credit. That's where we're at. Getting into the chat again. 1 second, guys. I'll bring up a few new ones. And is in. Michael is in. Erik Ten Hag didn't give the players ridiculous contracts. The club did. That's very true. But Ten Hag picked Antony. Ten Hag picked Onana. Ten Hag picked Mason Mount. Some people said it's not Ten Hag's fault that we're out of the Champions League. It's Andre Onana's fault. Well, that's Ten Hag's goalkeeper. He did have another one there in David De Gea already. And he brought Onana in, and he was the one that cost him. So it is Ten Hag's player. I don't care about price tags, wages, and what these players are on. That's for Ineos to sort out. Ten Hag picked the players, though. So that's on him. And his record is shocking. Absolutely shocking. Erik Ten Hag won the FA Cup because the Coventry winner was disallowed. And here he's talking like he won the Champions League, says Ramo. Yeah, Ronaldo started the play-up power issue in Erik Ten Hag era because he refused to press. We know that Ronaldo's not going to press. And I backed Ten Hag fully with Ronaldo in that situation. Honestly, I've still not forgiven Ronaldo. Like, the standards of the football club that Ronaldo picked up and moaned about and everyone jumped on to use against Ten Hag, I wasn't with that. I was like, well, no, the manager's still right. If you walk off the pitch and refuse to play, you do not belong at the football club. It's as simple as that. And then for Ronaldo to come out and start going on about the Glazers and United not improving, it's stuff that we already knew. Ronaldo was just backing his ego and his own profile and wanted to keep the relationship with the fans and his godlike status. That's how I seen it at the time. So he goes in on what the fans hate the most, the Glazers and the club standards. It was an obvious get out of jail card for Ronaldo, and I backed Ten Hag every step of the way on the Ronaldo situation. I still stand by it now. I don't agree in what Ronaldo did, and Ten Hag was right in getting him out of the football club. Adam, I disagree with that, mate. It's Ineos' job to get rid of these players, not Ten Hag. You can't keep blaming him for everything. Just my opinion. I didn't blame him for everything. Like I just said then, it is up to Ten Hag to out these players. Tell Ineos that they are not the right players for Manchester United. But it is Ten Hag's fault that he keeps playing Rashford ahead of Ahmad. It is Ten Hag's fault that Antony come into the situation and played ahead of Ahmad, and that Palestri didn't get a chance, and that Hannibal has never been seen at Manchester United. Yeah, you can argue that these players might not have been good enough, but you can also argue it's Ten Hag's fault that them players never got a chance and never got an opportunity to build up any form, like Mr. Profile himself, Marcus Rashford, did. game after game after game, given a chance to actually prove that he can do something, while we were losing every single one of them games or dropping points. That's on Ten Hag, mate. Come on, you've got to see that. Did Ten Hag pick the team, or was it the Rashford? Was it the Rashford? The Rashford, the title? I'm not sure what you mean by that one, mate. I hope next season there will be less drama. No, I want drama, but United winning things, that's what we want. I just hope we start getting players out quickly and show positive signings. Look, Ten Hag just needs to get this deal done, sorted with Ineos, and it's on Ineos as well to get it sorted. Come together, who needs to go? Erik, you know more than anybody about the players and who needs to be out of this football club. Let's get on with making it happen. And then, yes, if he passes them names across in Ineos, don't get rid of them. We go to town on Ineos and we start questioning them. Heat on Ten Hag will continue until he wins the Premier League. He's had 2 years, got another 3 max. Ten Hag is the face of the Ineos project, the 3 years coming up that Sir Jim Ratcliffe spoke about. He needs to provide the Premier League title in them 3 years. Ineos have already set up the next manager, whoever it was, before we decided on Ten Hag for this fall. And they will pull the trigger on him. They will. We know they will. They've got form for it. Ten Hag will be doing his research. Surely his people have been looking into Ineos' past and going, if we want to keep this job, then let's not jump the gun a little bit in what we're saying in Ineos and things like that, because they won't stand for it. The issue is, though, Ten Hag expects pressing and endless running without any technical ability or endgame product. Ten Hag's system is so bad, says Johnny. Welsh says... Sorry, Welsh, your message just came off the screen. Need to get rid of the spoiled brats out of that changing room and bring some harmony back into this club. Guys, what I want to know from you right now is, who are them spoiled brats? Who are the players that need to go? Please get in the comment section and list these guys out for me, please. I want to have a discussion on that. Ten Hag picks the team, so I agree with Adam. Flash Talks, major clear out needed, but ain't going to get it, are we? Says Flash Talk. Venetia says that one before it, the previous comment. Mr. Dacia Sandero, hi Adam, I hope you're doing well. Players like Onana, Anthony and Mount wouldn't have been signed if Ineos were around at the time. You just have to know when to pull out of a transfer. I think you're right, mate. I think you're right. We definitely wouldn't have been buying them players. They never got a chance because they were deemed not good enough at the time. Annabelle and Palestre, obviously not good enough for us. Ahmad was struggling fitness-wise most of the season. Was he? He said he wasn't. So I don't believe that, Lee. And Palestre, really? I think he did more than Marcus Rashford last season in the games that he played. We're talking about a guy that isn't good enough, that we never got a chance to really assess. Like, we can say Anthony isn't good enough because he got enough game time. Honestly, if you're telling me you'd rather have Anthony in for his end product ahead of Palestre, then good God. Anthony's playing in that team week in, week out, or whenever he does, more than a lot of other players because of Ten Hag. They're the facts. People just want to ignore them, I'm afraid. Ten Hag will die on that Anthony sword. He needs to bite the bullet. And you know what? I'll have a massive amount of respect for Ten Hag if he just says, look, it didn't work. We got Anthony wrong. He wasn't the right man for United. The step up was too big. Obviously, it's not his fault we spent the earth on him. That was Myrtle's fault and Arnold's fault, not Ten Hag's. So it's Ten Hag's fault for the profile of the player and saying that he wants that player because he thinks he can do the job. It was a big mistake. A massive mistake. My son at 9 knows if you don't do as a manager tells you, you don't play his way it's his way or the highway. There are still some questions over why players start. There are big questions over why players start. There are massive questions. And there's only one man who can answer that, and that's Ten Hag. Rashford and Bruno are spoiled. Onana is a total chop, says Punch. Any hope to sell some players or no one want to buy? We built these players up to be something they're not, and nobody wants them because of that. Like, nobody wants to buy a player that thinks he should be on 300 grand a week. Again, has Martial signed for anyone yet? No. Not Ten Hag's issue. I'm glad Ten Hag treated Martial the way he did. About time someone actually stood up to bleeding Martial. And these fans still stood there applauding, standing applause for Martial walking off the pitch after he'd give us nothing for 2 years. And we're applauding him like he's the bleeding Messiah walking off the pitch. And then they say we're right behind Ten Hag. The same fans saying we're right behind Ten Hag are the ones that are standing up clapping Martial off the pitch and thanking him for his time at the football club. Oh, come on. Give your heads a wobble, for God's sake. Ten Hag has outed Martial. The one thing he's got, that's one thing I do agree with Ten Hag on in terms of some of these players. Like, he needs to want to play. Couldn't have described Martial any better than that. That's exactly how Martial needs to be treated by a manager. Jose Mourinho's seen it straight away. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I bet he soft-soaped him and wrapped him up in cotton wool. And that's why he got an alright result out of him. But if you can't adapt to new managers and new ways, you don't belong in the Premier League. Never mind Man United. It's ridiculous. Adam, we should have gotten him out of the club after the worst season ever, says Jamal. Number 7 shirt on sale on eBay. Never washed. Still in package. Seller. Mounty 7. What's good about Palestre but being pushed off the ball easily? Is there? Really? Do you actually watch the games? Sorry, mate, I'm not having a go there, but that's just a poor excuse as to why Palestre's out. Honestly, you could say that about Garnacho as well. Palestre doesn't get pushed off the ball at all. It's ridiculous how anyone could even say that. We have to remember all the injuries killed Erik Ten Hag's plans last season. No excuse. It's a load of crap. Oh, God, people still going on about that. I'll just go back. First 24 games of the season, we lost 12 of them. Half of the games. In each of them games, we had 2 centre-backs on the bench. 2 international centre-backs on the bench every single time. And some of them games, he didn't play Rafael Varane either. So, yeah, let's just remember that. We don't want to go in totally. And injuries do play a problem. But it wasn't as bad as what people were making out. And we lost 12 games where we went out of any chance of winning the Premier League, out of the Carabao Cup and the Champions League in them first 24 games. So, yeah, I'm not having the injury one. No one will ever convince me that injuries cost Ten Hag this season. Martial has been less injury prone than Luke Shaw. Let that sink in over the time at United, and no one gets on Shaw's back. I think people are getting on Shaw's back now. Like, honestly, I would replace Shaw. I like the guy, I do, but we cannot rely on Luke Shaw anymore. The end is coming for him. The obvious is going to happen sooner or later. Why not we make it happen now? Why? Because he's on a big contract, and no one's going to buy a player of that age on that money. So we get stuck with him again. The system that is in place. And this is where I will argue back for Ten Hag, in that sometimes his hands are handcuffed and he cannot do much. Although he did agree to giving Luke Shaw that contract while he was manager. So that, I feel, you have to look at as well. There is a lot of net blaming going on with Manchester United for the issues that have come about recently. But everybody at the club is culpable. I think Ten Hag the problem I've got with Ten Hag ultimately is that he doesn't want to accept any blame for any of the things that have gone wrong. And no one can come back and tell me that he isn't like that. He is. You know he is. Everyone's argument for Ten Hag is, look, we don't want to be another sacking club. We don't want to sack another manager. He's won 2 trophies in 2 years. We should just give him a chance. I understand your argument completely. I do. It's warranted. Everyone has an opinion. Mine is that I just don't like the way he doesn't accept responsibility for things going wrong and he uses excuses. That for me is just the way I've been brought up, and that's a part of my character, and that's just how I am. And then you'll always see me praising Ten Hag where praise is due. I'm not going to shy away from giving him praise because I've said I don't like him and I would have rather had someone better in. I'll always give him his praise game after game if he gets something right. I say call out the good and call out the bad. Say it as it is. That's what we do on this channel. Say it as it is. Nothing wrong with that. Ten Hag has no right to criticise any other managers. A lot of people would say that, boxing. Which players would you like to see us get before the season starts? Great show as always, getting me through my endless admin. No problem, Mr. Dacia Sandero. Players to get in. Honestly, I'd rather be players out. Brutal is what I would say. And everyone would go, you can't get rid of that many players. I disagree. Like, if we went through a whole list right now of players, I think we'd even if we went through a list of the players who started in the FA Cup final, a chunk of them would be out of the club this summer for a lot of people. Martial had one good season when he first came in, says Andrew. Adam, we all know who players who should sail, but we can't. All ones too many sail. Sorry, I think you meant by that, Neil. Too many, we can't get rid of everyone at once. No, it's going to take the 3 years of Ineos being in situ to get rid of all of these players. It is. But what I'm saying is, as well, with Ten Hag is, all of the problem players that he's got, if you're big enough and you're big enough to manage Manchester United, even if these players aren't sold in the summer to make your life a little bit easier, you have to be man enough to stand up and drop these players and deal with it. And then become responsible for everything that happens from there. Can you handle that? I mean, it's like if Ten Hag dropped Marcus Rashford and played a front three of Garnacho, Ahmad and Højlund, you're not going to get any complaints from me. If they don't perform, then I can't complain. It's what I've been wanting. I want to see fair crack of the whip for everybody at Man United in terms of these players, because you just don't know. You can uncover someone in a position. He played Amrabat, who everybody wanted out of the football club up until April in the last few games, and because he had a run of games, he found something, and now everybody thinks that Amrabat should be one of the players that we buy this summer as part of our restructure. And he was down as a failure last season for big parts. So, yeah, it's really interesting how everything everything changes constantly through a season, especially with the players that are picked. And I think Ten Hag just has to just take responsibility for what you do, and you won't have a problem from me at all. If this is the way that Ten Hag is going to be, don't chop and change. Like, if this is the attitude, the new Ten Hag that we're seeing in these interviews, and him being bullish and telling the media where to go and everything, go for it. All in. Just be you. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. Just be you, but take a little bit of responsibility as well, because you are part of the problem. Even when he said in the Dutch interview last night when he was on Colcombs, was when he said, look, we didn't have a good enough season last season. It wasn't good enough, but there were circumstances behind it. Yeah. And you were part of them, mate. Come on, take some responsibility. Stop shifting the blame constantly. That's all it needs. That's all it needs. We overpay to get players in and can't get rid due to wages. Get the merry-go-round, Manchester United merry-go-round. Michael says, if the team is within the top four and playing competitively, by December, we will be safe. He will be safe. He will be safe. If United are competing for the top four, then realistically, no one's going to even argue that or say that's not good enough. From where we are now, Manchester United should be aiming for top four next season. Like, if we don't get a trophy and get top four, I'm not going to say Ten Hag out. No, I'll say that that's what I expected. Like, we've won both League Cup and FA Cup. If he goes now and doesn't get to a final next season, and he can't go on and saying that I've made consecutive finals, I don't care. Like, Manchester United need to be judged on their league position more than anything, and that's what Ten Hag has failed with this season, and why there is this divide amongst the fans and opinions amongst pundits and experts, and everyone wants their say on it. It's why it's been such a big debate. So, Yeah, we just need to be back in the Champions League. That's Ten Hag's target. So he's in. I'm going with it. I've not got a problem with it. I just don't like. It's just my character, guys, and the way I am. I just don't like the way he talks and how he tries to convince me that I'm watching something that I'm not. You can come out easily after games and say, look, it just wasn't good enough. We need to go away and work on things and make sure that this doesn't happen again. Don't make excuses about who was missing and what happened. And it doesn't work, and it will never, ever last. Okay, let's see. We're back later tonight, this evening, guys. Obviously, we've got the evening show around about 6 o'clock tonight, followed by the watch-along for the France game tonight. Looking forward to that one. Hopefully, it's a bit better quality than what the England one was last night. Kaz is also on the show as well. We are just putting the podcast aside while we concentrate on the Euros at the moment, guys. So, yeah, no podcast coming out tonight because we're both live on the watch along. So the podcast will still be carrying on, don't worry, but it's a bit different and mixed match well. The Euros are on and we're doing all of the other shows as well. So don't worry about it. It is still there and you will still get your fix on everything. 65 injuries is a valid excuse. Did you hear Eddie Howe moan about injuries? Pochettino, 65 injuries. Yeah, what are them injuries and who are them players getting injured? Like, again, I said, 12 defeats in the first 24 games, mate. With having everybody near enough available in them games. Go look at the first 24 games and forget about them if you want to back your argument up, but that's just where I won't. And that's the argument I've got. It's like, forget about the poor Champions League performance. And people actually using Onana as the excuse for that. I mean, throw one man under a bus. Individual errors happen, yes. But let's not forget, that's the keeper that Ten Hag wanted as well. God, some people. Do we have to stay out of the Champions League to convince the high-earning Deadwood to leave? It's not going to change, though, Jonathan. Out of the Champions League means less money for them players, but they're still on a lot. If we get back in there, a lot of players will be on really good money. And they won't want to leave Manchester United. It's just, until Ineos get well and truly into their structure, and there are a few years down the line, and the wages and everything like that are properly sieved out, the old guard's gone, don't expect anything to change in terms of these players right now. And the only man who can change anything is Ten Hag by not playing them because he has got other options there. That's from the manager's side of things. So it should be the Mbappe show tonight, Adam. It should. They wanted Fergie out too. We will not forget. A lot of fans did want Fergie out. But he stayed in a different era completely. If you want to compare how football was to how football was then to how football is now, go for it. Honestly, but I don't. I look at what we've got now, and I look at the last 10 years, and I look at the mess, and the cycle continues, just with different managers. This manager has had the one opportunity that a lot of other managers haven't had at Manchester United over the last 10 years. I just don't think he should be running his mouth as much as he is, and he needs to do a lot more walking before he starts talking more. Guys, great show as always. Thank you for all your contributions, everybody involved. Chat, loved it. Even if you didn't agree, still love it. That's what it's about. We don't have to agree on everything. Otherwise, football would be boring, wouldn't it? Anyway, that's it, guys. Cheers, mods and members. Good show as always. I'll see you all around about 6 o'clock later, and then obviously on to TIFO as well. Link in the description, guys. I'll drop that in later. The evening show as well. We're doing a competition for the announcement of the fixtures, which come out tomorrow. So make sure you tuned in later as well in the evening show here on YouTube for the competition as well for all the members. Guys, that's it. Thank you, everybody. I will see you all later on. Have a great day, and hopefully we have a nice peaceful one as well. Enjoy the football that's on as well, guys. Until later on. Oh, actually, we just had a super quickly from Mark. Legend. Cheers, mate. Players will try and get their 25% wage cut back. Yeah, so expect a turnaround in form this season. Yeah, well, that will show exactly what the character of these players are. Let them get back in on them big wages and then get rid of them, Mark. Best way. Cheers for the super, buddy. Appreciate everyone's comments as always. I'll see you all later on this evening. Like, share, and subscribe.